Welcome to Dove and Dragon Radio. I'm your host, M.L.Ruscsak. I'm here with author Robert Wilson. Welcome.
Well, thank you, and my privilege and honor to be here.
Now, you have so many books on your website. I was able to go through that a little bit before the show. But your newest book is My Wisdom Breathes. So before we get to that one, what led you into writing?
In 1997, I was working in Portland, Oregon, and my life was going nowhere. And then I got into a home-based business. The business didn't do well, but they pushed personal growth. And ever since then, I just took off with that, and I got really involved with myself. And in 2000, I wrote a book called Wired for Change by a Journeyman. I'm a union electrician. So anyway, then I just kept progressing, but I really got into it, but my life wasn't going nowhere. I was into the change, heal, create, transformation, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But my life went nowhere. In about 2009, I was in Las Vegas, and I got the words expand, energize, enterprise, and experience over change, heal, and create. And when I disconnected the analytical mind, I moved forward.
That's something I've heard that a lot. I talk to a lot of motivational speakers. I follow many of them. I mean, that's something when you change your thinking, your mindset, then you start to change your outward, everything else. But
when I use the word expand over the word change, it gives you a freedom. You don't go into your thinking mind. And that's what we do. We go into the thinking, knowing mind, and we know our way all the way to yesterday.
That is true.
But if you go into, instead of thinking, using the word inspiration, it disconnects all that. And see, I was always, spirit, body, mind. But I changed that to spirit, body, inspiration, and just say spirit, body, inspiration, and feel the liberation.
Very true, because words have power. And if certain words free you, where other words chain you to whatever you're doing.
Yes. And that's what the thinking mind. Have you ever been in a conversation and watched somebody and they say think and no, and that's the end of the conversation? Because then they start to get offensive because they don't know the next step. And none of us do. And something I discovered today, actually in my life, fear is a door for us to open. It's our first expression of actuating realization. But it's also the fear and emotions that are anchored in yesterday.
Very true.
And so the magician to open that door is me. And that's what I've really come to. This book, My Wisdom Breathe, it's written with zero punctuation and without punctuation and in rhymes, but it doesn't have a negative word in it. It don't have anything to do with the past. Everything in there is wrote to discharge the past, because to expand out of the past, you expand to the now, because you got to replace the old with something new. So when you start imaging it and doing things in the now, you expand.
That is very true. It's taking what you know, throwing it out the window, and traveling into the unknown.
Yeah.
But you have to do it in a positive way.
Inspirational way, in a positive way. But you really, people want to write their story of the past. And in this book, there's a chapter called niography. You write a niography instead of a story. And it's the last chapter, and it's called, it's a niography, spiritual niography is what it's called. And it really is about writing to where you're going, and only talk about and speak to others where you're going. And if somebody, and this is something that's really kind of unfavorable, but if your friends and family ain't making fun of you and ridiculing you, you're not being inspired to move forward.
Right. But you also have to take that ridicule, that negative, and turn it into a drive to move forward. You don't just get stuck there.
Well, actually, they're complimenting you. Ridicule is a compliment.
Yes, it is.
And that's in this book, My Wisdom Breathes. Ridicule and criticism are compliments because you're going where they're afraid to go.
It is. How many times do we look at someone on the internet and you see we call them trolls because they're stuck in a place that the person that they're trolling, that they're criticizing, they can't get to themselves. So they can't give them a compliment as in you're doing great. It is a compliment of you're so horrible.
Yeah. And see, that's a controlling. And it's really comes from our societized thinking. Because if you ain't criticizing, you're starting to give somebody a compliment. Oh my God, they're better than you. And that's an old way of thinking. An old way of living.
It is.
The more you want, more you desire for somebody else to succeed, the one you're really desiring to succeed is yourself.
That is very true. I'm one of those people, I won't post anything that I'm going to do on the internet. I will post things I'm doing now, but not my future. Why? I don't want the ridicule, but at the same time, that ridicule has gotten me to where I'm at today.
Yes, because it's really a push a push to go forward, because it's not only you want to show them wrong, but you understand your talents. And that's where the world really comes in a bind, is we don't understand we're all talented enough to do whatever we want, but our talents ain't necessarily inside the school system and societized system. The talent for everybody is beyond. It's in, I call it in the spiritual universe. And all this,
we do. We have to look at ourselves to find out what our talents are. We cannot compare our talents to our neighbor's talents. It's not going to be the same.
That's absolutely the truth. And if you're comparing yourself to somebody, you're afraid of your own talents. And people like, Michael Jordan, he's the best example of this, because he got kicked off his high school basketball team. But Michael didn't care. And Michael did not go into his head. He went into his body. And that is where we actually are held back, is in the body. The body's got our habits and it controls the mind.
Right.
Just opening up to that.
Right. You have your authors. So me, I inspire to be as good as, not better than, but as good as someone I read. This is where I inspire to be, because they're at the level of writing I want to be. But at the same time, my talents are not the same as their talents.
Your talents, you got, everybody encompasses a unique mystique.
We do.
And that is where it is. And that's why this book is unpunctuated, because people have to discover themselves. When you read a punctuated book, your knowing and thinking mind, you want to be like that author. But this book, there's a reason they're unpunctuated, is it disconnects you from your own self, and you have to go on a journey. You can never know this book, but it'll expand you every day. And this book is written to carry with you to, if you're having a bad day, or when you're having a bad day, you can open it to any page and have a new way of, you can find a new inspiration to move forward.
And those are the type of books we need. We need to go to our mind, expand our mind, expand our knowledge of today, and expand where we want to be. We have to set our goal higher each day.
Yes. And it's really, for me, it's just a simple thing. I desire to be a better person today than I was yesterday.
Exactly. That's where we should be aspiring to be. We should be the best version of ourselves every day and get better every day.
Yes. And it's really about disconnecting the past. And when I talk about the past and My Wisdom Breathes, so it's discharge and disconnect. Because you only want the good times. But we've been taught, oh, look what you did. And all that does is create that story and keep you in the turmoil and the trauma of yourself. All the drama and turmoil ain't in the world. It's all in yourself.
Exactly. How many times do we look at, oh, we had this traumatic thing happen 10 years ago. because of that traumatic thing, whatever it is, could be losing a job. We're stuck there. Well, that's 10 years ago. What happened to today?
Yeah. You know, we've never had nothing taken away from us, that there wasn't something waiting for us when we're open and willing to push the button on the door of fear and open it up.
Mm-hmm.
I just come into that. That's going to be a keynote. I'm going to write, but we really, the spirit and the soul and everything is an energy. It's never, it's not, and that's what life is nothing more than energy.
It is. I say to the universe every night, I am ready to receive, and thank you for the gifts you're about to bestow upon me. Why? It's energy. It's positive energy. I'm ready to receive whatever the next day is going to bring to me.
And you know, I don't know about you, but me, some days when the most challenging day I have is the best day of my life.
Mm-hmm.
It is that day, but it is the next day.
It is, because we learn from that challenge of the day, we grow from it, and we might find a solution to a problem we didn't even know we had.
And see, for me, the mind, all it was looking for is something to stay in turmoil over. That's all it's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote that in the book, is what the mind means in a verb. And it really shows you what it is. It's looking to attach to something. If you use energizing inspiration over the word mind, and we always have the mind. But if you take the word mind, the mind don't know you're talking about it when you don't use it.
That is correct.
And that's why I use inspiration instead of mind, because I can do anything with the mind as long as it ain't thinking.
That is very true. If you don't think about it and you just do it. How many times do we have an opportunity put before us? We have two choices. We just jump in and do it. And it's probably one of the greatest opportunities that we can ever imagine. Or we sit back and we analyze. Once you analyze, your mind goes negative.
It goes into the analytical and it goes into the past. And see, that's why we live a new now. We've never had a past. We've lived a continuous now, but we embedded the past in our thinking, memory, mind, and that's what we live for. Because when we was in school, remember this, we're going to have a test. Do you remember this? Mm-hmm. We've been taught to remember everything, and everybody brings up everything you have done in a shallow way instead of a bad way. It's just doing it in a shallow way. Mm-hmm. So you always have that, and everybody's sitting there saying, do you remember this? Do you remember that? Look what happened. And we buy into it. Mm-hmm.
It's how many times do we go to a school event for our alma mater? Do you remember when? And it always starts with those words. Do you remember when? It's usually followed by a negative. Why? Because they don't have anything else to say.
And that is absolutely true. They like you to stay the same as them. Always remember, your friends and family want you to stay the same as them. Mm-hmm. It's okay to rise above them, and you ain't doing a disservice if you rise up to your talents. And your talents are unique to you, or mine are unique to me. And I use the words trailblazer, trendsetter, and I use the word rebellious and hellraiser a lot, because you got to raise a little hell.
You do.
Yeah, you got to raise a little hell, because life is a mystical mess. So you got to raise a little hell to pell-mell the toxicity out of your life.
If you're not raising it just a little bit of hell and giving it back to all the naysayers out there, you're doing yourself a disservice.
You know, and rebellious and troublemaker and them, the meaning they say in the dictionary is what somebody else wants you to believe. All the words you've ever heard is what somebody else wants you to understand or think and know. Mm-hmm. Well, you can make any word and make it any way you want to.
Very true.
Because negativity is natural enterprise and gumption, appreciating today, invigorating visionary epiphanies now.
That is very true. You can take, I just connected with one of my school friends from 20 years back, and I invited him to a new TV show. And he's excited for it. Now, to put it onto our alma mater, do you remember when so-and-so couldn't do because of, you fill in the blank. It's all the negative It's not, hey, that is really cool that you're doing this. No, they want you to stay the same. But if you look at where you came from and go, you know what, I'm just doing my thing because I found my talent.
There's the key word, found your talent. And see, people are afraid of themselves more than they're afraid. You know who's the person everybody knows the least in their life?
Themselves.
That's absolutely right. And see, we're so afraid of our own talents because our talents are going to rise us above.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't want to rise above their parents because they'll feel bad.
And they shouldn't. They should rise above their parents to be able to take care of their parents later on.
Yeah. And not only that, your parents brought you into this world, not to be like them, but to show you a better way. And their good habits, bad habits, whatever, were there to teach you. And see, something I understand now that I didn't. Instead of looking at your parents, what they did, appreciate your parents, because your parents had their journey, their individual journey, their journey together, and then all the siblings and their stuff going on. Mm-hmm. But they had a privilege and a right to experience life themselves. And they did not have to leave any kid with anything. It's up to the kid. And so if you take the word forgiveness out of your life, put the word appreciation in it, mm-hmm. Instead of forgiving that person, you appreciate them. You're giving them a higher value, but you're really giving yourself the highest value.
See, that's my dad. I appreciate everything he ever did for me. And I'm glad when he left this world, he left me with nothing. I didn't want any material things because I appreciated him.
Yes. And, that's the thing. Appreciate them for who they, my parents, we had a lot of challenges in our, so what? But it made me a stronger person. But one thing they gave me that nobody can take from me is a work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And morals and values. And that's all they had to give me. That's
that
all they
is
had to show me.
Exactly. That's what my mom and my dad gave me, with a work ethic that no one here in the generation coming up can compete with, and the ethic of money, the value of money.
And something just to go beyond that, it's a value of affluence because you're in the flow. Mm-hmm. And I learned that this morning on the way to where I was going. But affluence is in the flow, and you're flowing to that. And, like this radio show, that's money for other people. Mm-hmm. That's wealth for other people. And you're doing the world a tremendous service with your radio show or your podcast, this show, and you're opening people up to new avenues of affluence.
Yes. This is my whole thing is I created a show to get other people out there. Let me help other people. I can't help people by here's money, but I can help you promote yourself. I can help you get your message out there to the people that need to hear it.
Well, if giving money away was the right thing, the world wouldn't be where it's at today.
Very true. How much money is given away and it doesn't help anything?
The best helping hand anybody has is this one. Mm-hmm. But the wisdom in the worldly, in the universe's airways, mm-hmm. is a.
So,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Your books, where are they located at? So our viewers and our listeners can.
I got an Amazon page. They're all on that. It's www.amazon.com/author Robert A. Wilson.
See, I like getting that in there at least a couple of times because, we talk about this stuff to raise people up out of their mind, their mindset.
I'm going to be honest. This book has politically incorrect wisdom in it.
Oh, great. Wonderful. We need the politically incorrect right now.
Here's the deal. My wisdom breathe is written in first person, minimal punctuation, politically incorrect, grammatically improper, and was written to discharge and sort you out of your past to experience your new now. Wow.
We need more books like that.
But that's the reason it's I discovered unpunctuating my writings in 2011. Okay. And as soon as I did, my life expanded. And see, I don't write this book to tell people what to do. Mm-hmm. I show people the way I expanded my life. If that's for them, that's fine. If it's not for them, that's fine.
Exactly.
I'm not here, but it's if I show people a better way, all I know is the school system and the stuff, the society systems are teaching you to be a puppet muppet and follow the herd, and you keep stepping in herdocracy or turdocracy, and that's what you do.
That is exactly what our school system is doing right now. We're creating puppets. We're not expanding. We're staying the same.
Yes.
And no one's thinking for themselves. So by creating a book that's politically incorrect, has no grammar, you're saying, we have to expand.
Yeah. And see, and do you want to, if you say the words change, heal, create, transformation, you're going to feel a little bit, but when you say the words expand, energize, enterprise, and experience, you become, your eyes open, because your thinking, memory, mind cannot latch on to anything negative.
That is true.
And also, I don't use the word heal. I use the word liberation and appreciation and gratitude. No matter what the world is serving me that day, there's a higher wisdom involved in it somewhere.
There is. It doesn't matter if we're going through a bad 10 minutes, or because any problem usually happens within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's up to us if we're going to take that 10 minutes and have it fill all the entire day, or take the 10 minutes, go, okay, this is just a really sucky 10 minutes, and find the solution and move forward, expand, create, and liberate yourself in the negative, and then find your solutions.
Or else another question is, what am I going through here? I'm not witnessing or seeing here that's supposed to expand me, because I call the spirit my mischievous magician, because it's going to do something to make me slow down, look around, or whatever. And everybody thinks spirit's this. Spirit's just an energy.
It is. Everything is an energy.
But it's a supernatural energy. We all are supernatural, but we never admit it to ourselves.
Correct. We have the power to change our lives every day.
Every second of every day.
Every second of every day. You're correct.
Yeah.
I do go by a day because, it takes a whole day to get some people to understand that they can liberate themselves by changing their habits.
That starts in the body. That's why people, AA is a great thing. But the one thing it never says, I'm liberated from everything. You got to say to yourself, and this little saying in this book is, I liberate me from me and I'm free.
That is a great saying.
Yeah. And that's really what I've really opened up to discover. I liberate me from me and I'm free. And there's poetry throughout this book and stuff like that. But this book is written to take you out of your thinking, memory, mind. Because imagination, wisdom, innovation, inspiration, intuition, and trailblazer talent will take you to your oceans of opulence.
That is exactly what we need right now. How many times do we say we're chained to ourselves, or we're chained to whatever negative influences? It doesn't matter if it's an AA type thing or whatever it is.
The news.
Mm-hmm.
The natural, everlasting, worthless stuff. Your own adjectives in there.
We can put our own adjectives. I mean, we're all adults here, but we do have children watching the station.
This is one of my favorite things when somebody says, the news, can't believe nothing in it. Next thing you say, the news said. That's my favorite.
Yeah, we have the news, and then we have the news, and it's about the same stuff that we're hearing on both sides.
Yeah, and nobody's will tell us exactly. So if you want the truth of your life, understand you are the truth and reality of your life, but what you really think and know may not be the truth. And it may not. You got to really step back and I know my life. I understand my life to this point to expand out of yesterday, energize my dreams, to enterprise my life, to experience my life of luxurious leisure my way.
Exactly. We take our lives just because we think we know something doesn't mean we actually know what's going on around us. It's our perception of that moment.
And 90% of what we know is what somebody else wants us to know, because every school book is written by what somebody else wants us to know, and it ain't even people from this country.
Correct.
And a lot of people, well, you say that, some people get mad. And you know what's the biggest prisons in the world?
Here in the US?
No, I mean the biggest prisons.
No. Which one?
The inner cities and the Indian reservations. They're prisons with roads out of them because they don't have a map to go further. And the maps are beliefs, and they live inside what their people they live beside tell them. It's people that get a new map. And that's an NLP saying, is a map. That's your thinking, memory, mind, all that. And that's where it is. And see, if they started not educating, but showing people the encompass of wisdom to move beyond it, they wouldn't have it.
That is very true.
But they're scared when people start on a fearful war, fearful rioting society like we have, we're easy to control. But a person with wisdom, inspiration, and talent, they can't control them.
No, they can't. So they want to keep those down. If you start sharing knowledge to get ahead, they want to keep you back. Why? Because they can't control you when you outgrow their form of thinking.
Absolutely right. You know, it's the bright light of life is inside us, but we've never been taught to shine it.
Correct.
We're always shown how to shine it. Let me rephrase that.
See, I was blessed with my daughter. I got to homeschool her for a short period of time. So I created her history lessons. There's 5 points to every history lesson. So we took the Revolutionary War. We got the British side, the American side, the Native American side that fought on the American side, and the Native American side from the British side, and then the other side that didn't fight.
There you go. See, now you actually got a rounded understanding.
And this is a curriculum I made for her. And she did book reports on all 5 parts. Why? Because I don't want her just knowing what the history book says. I want her to have an opinion about what she thinks happened.
Yes. An understanding. Yes, that's very good. And see, there's 3 things this country has never expanded out of that still hold the world today, this country: the Civil War, the 30s, and the Great Society.
It is. We are still held back by all the history because we never expanded past it. We're still stuck in those time periods.
And that comes from our ancestral map, and that comes from our fight or flight. But really, we live in frozen representations in our unconscious mind and subconscious minds from our parents, their parent, all the way back to the beginning of time. And that's where the present moment, and that's what I write about that in this book, My Wisdom Breeze, that we have to expand out of the survival mode thinking into the inspirational wisdom of ourselves.
We do. And we have to start rising people up, not holding them back. And we have to rise up by ourselves first.
That's right. And it isn't money that's going to take you there. It's wisdom. Wisdom is your wealth. And not knowing wisdom.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how much money you have. I mean, how many billionaires are out there that are miserable and make everyone around them miserable? And how many poor people, I mean, you know, those are living in subsidized housing, on welfare, can't get a job, but they're the happiest people you'll meet.
You know,
they rise up.
Yes. And, you know, it isn't the money, it's your inner being, your inner self. It's your own self-worth.
Mhm.
And if you spell self-worth all in one word, it makes a difference for you.
It does.
Yeah,
It changes your aspect on everything.
and I don't hyphenate no words. If it's going to be a word like self-worth, I
Mhm.
make it one solid word. And I got my own vocabulary in there. There's yazza snazzy, yazza snappy, yazza jazzy, but you got to jazz up your vocabulary to jazz your life.
Correct. But at the same time, you're one of these people that invent a way to get to the subconscious mind.
Yeah. As long as I can baffle that analytical mind, I'm going somewhere. But if you're living through that analytical mind, and the word mind is really from memory, you're living from memory. And that's where we're stuck, is in memory.
It is. But we are almost out of time. So where can our listeners and our viewers find you and get a hold of you if they want to talk to you?
My email is Robert at My Cowboy Wisdom. My website is mycowboywisdom.com. And there's a $10 million meditation that's a free download on there. But there's also a lot of my writings on there.
Mhm.
And my writings, well, sometimes I proofread them, sometimes I don't. They're just written, but they're never going to let you down because they're going to open you up to one thing new in every one. And it's really about writing the poetry of yourself. And my phone number, I'll just give it out, 702-755-9410. And I'm also a certified hypnotherapist.
You do a lot of things, and being a hypnotherapist probably helps with your writing. But
I'm going to say one thing. My hypnotherapy, I've learned one thing in my scripts.
Mhm.
I don't talk about the past. I started really writing about going forward.
Yeah, that's the important thing, is starting today to move forward. It's
Yes.
not starting 5 years ago. It's starting today.
You write a niography, and what a niography is you start writing your dreams, and only your dream and only where you want to be in life starting now.
Mhm.
And that's what a niography is.
That is very true. But thank you so much for being on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's been my honor and privilege, and I've really enjoyed this conversation.
This has been really fun and very educational and very expanding.
Thank you.
And for our listeners and our viewers, happy reading.